The doors to the Grand Council chamber opened with a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. Ambassador Marcus Webb stepped through, and for the first time in his 42 years, he understood what it meant to feel truly small. The chamber stretched in every direction, vast beyond human comprehension. Crystalline walls rose 3 kilometers high, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that represented real-time communications from 100 worlds. Above, a dome showed the galaxy itself, billions of stars wheeling in silent majesty. And surrounding him, arranged in 73 elevated platforms that rose like ancient amphitheater seating, sat the representatives of civilizations that had mastered the stars while humanity still huddled in caves. Marcus stood alone in the center of it all. Just one human wearing a simple dark suit, facing the collective judgment of species that had ruled space for millennia. High Arbiter Velthan leaned forward on the highest platform. Her crystalline body refracted light into rainbow patterns as she moved. When she spoke, translation devices embedded in the walls converted her harmonic frequencies into words that echoed through the vast space. Ambassador, Web of Earth, you stand before this council charged with severe violations of our most fundamental laws. How do you answer? Marcus straightened his jacket and looked up at the 73 alien beings arrayed above him. Some had faces he could almost recognize. Others were so alien that his brain struggled to process their basic form. But all of them were watching him with expressions that needed no translation. They expected him to beg, to apologize, to surrender. High Arbiter, Marcus said clearly, his voice amplified by systems he didn't understand. I respectfully deny all charges. Earth has committed no violations. The chamber erupted. Dozens of species tried to speak at once, creating a cacophony of sounds that the translation system struggled to process. Clicks and whistles and harmonic tones and sounds that hurt to hear all blended together in a wave of shock and outrage. Counselor Dravik activated his platform speaker with a sharp gesture of his triple-jointed arms. His species, the Ferox, had held a council seat for 6,000 years. You deny the charges? Our security forces detected 47 weapons concealed on your person when you arrived at this station. 47 separate instruments designed to harm and kill. You brought an arsenal into the most secure facility in the known galaxy. I brought personal security equipment appropriate for a diplomatic mission, Marcus replied calmly. Personal security? Counselor Brecht hissed, his gaseous form swirling angrily within its containment suit. You call 47 weapons personal security? Yes, another wave of noise crashed through the chamber. Marcus waited it out, hands clasped behind his back, face neutral. He had practiced this moment for weeks with Earth's best diplomatic coaches. They had all agreed on one thing: show no weakness. The council respected strength, even when that strength came from a species barely 3 years into faster-than-light travel. High Arbiter, Velthan raised one crystalline appendage, and the chamber fell silent immediately. Ambassador Webb, perhaps you misunderstand the severity of your situation? When you arrived at our docking facilities 4 days ago, security scanning detected multiple weapons on your person. When asked to surrender them, you refused. I complied fully with your security officer's instructions, Marcus said. You told our chief of security, and we have recordings of this, to come and get them if he wanted them so badly. That's accurate. You then, Velthan continued, consulting data that streamed across her field of vision, removed the weapons one by one. Kinetic pistols, molecular cutting blades, explosive charges, a vial containing poison lethal to 17 council species. The list goes on. You surrendered them only after direct orders. Because your officer said to surrender my weapons, Marcus explained. He didn't say to surrender them immediately or all at once. I followed his instructions exactly as given. Dravik's faceplates flushed orange with anger. More weapons were detected after you surrendered the first batch. And more after that? And more after that? 7 separate security scans, each one finding weapons you had not declared. Do you understand how this appears to us? You came to the council like an assassin, not a diplomat. Marcus reached slowly into his jacket pocket. Every security drone in the chamber tracked the movement. Weapons that had been invisible against the ceiling descended rapidly, charging with sounds that made the air vibrate. He pulled out a simple pen and clicked it once. The sound echoed like a gunshot. That pen contains a compressed neurotoxin, Velthan said quietly. Our final scan detected it, along with your notebook, which can be folded into a blade sharp enough to cut through armor plating. Even now, even after confiscating 96 weapons from you over the past 4 days, you still carry more. You have very good scanners, Marcus acknowledged. He placed the pen and notebook on the crystalline floor, which opened immediately to swallow them. Ambassador Webb. Velthan's voice carried something like exhaustion now. We welcomed Earth to the galactic community 3 years ago when you achieved faster-than-light travel. We made allowances for your aggressive history. We understood that your species evolved differently than most. But this behavior goes beyond cultural differences. This is a direct threat to Council security. I disagree. You carried nearly 100 weapons into our most secure facility. I carried standard diplomatic security equipment, Marcus corrected. As outlined in the cultural briefing document I submitted with my arrival paperwork. Did anyone actually read it? The silence that followed answered his question. I see, Marcus said. Your automated systems processed my forms and approved them. But nobody read the human cultural briefing. Let me save you the trouble. Page 47, Section 12, Paragraph 6. I'll recite it from memory. He cleared his throat. Humans maintain a fundamental right to self-defense rooted in biological imperative and cultural tradition. A human diplomatic representative traveling without security personnel will typically carry multiple, redundant protective measures. This is considered normal and appropriate. The average human ambassador carries between 20 and 100 personal defense items, depending on threat assessment. Marcus gestured at the council members above him. I assessed a meeting with 73 alien species, many hostile to newcomer races, in an unfamiliar space station as requiring comprehensive preparation. So yes, I came armed. Very well armed. And I declared it clearly in my cultural briefing, which your systems approved. You're suggesting, Velthan said slowly, that carrying 100 weapons is normal for your species. For a diplomat entering uncertain territory? Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to lodge a formal complaint about your security procedures. The chamber erupted again. This time the sounds carried notes of disbelief that transcended translation. A human, accused of bringing weapons into council space, was complaining about their security. Marcus waited for silence before continuing. Your security performed 7 separate scans. They found 96 weapons. Then they declared me disarmed and safe. But they were wrong. He reached into his jacket's inner pocket, moving very deliberately. Every weapon in the chamber tracked him. Every guard TENSED. Marcus withdrew a small metallic cylinder and placed it carefully on the floor. This is a cascade charge. One of these could breach 3 meters of reinforced hull plating. I'm currently carrying 4 more. He began removing items systematically. A ceramic knife from his boot. A garrote wire disguised as his belt. A toxin injector built into a false tooth. An explosive hidden in his wedding ring. An acid dispenser in his tie clip. The pile grew steadily as council members watched in stunned silence. How is this possible? Dravik's voice had lost its anger, replaced by something like awe. How can one being carry so much? I'm wearing a suit with 51 pockets, Marcus explained. Some obvious, some hidden inside other hidden pockets. The suit itself has weight distributed through the fabric so it doesn't feel heavy. My shoes have hollow heels. My socks contain monofilament wire. My hair gel is actually a contact explosive. I am a walking armory, and this is completely normal for a human diplomat. He straightened and brushed off his jacket. You asked me to surrender my weapons. Your security found 96? I've now removed another 31. That's 127 total. And before you ask, yes, I'm still carrying more. Velthin stared at the pile of weapons, then at Marcus, then back at the pile. Her crystalline structure flickered through colors her species used to express emotions humans had no names for. "What you describe is not diplomacy," she finally said. "It's preparation for war." "It's preparation for survival," Marcus corrected. "Every item I carry is defensive. I haven't threatened anyone. I haven't drawn a weapon. I haven't raised my voice. I simply came prepared for the possibility that this meeting might not be as safe as you promised. And given that you brought me here under armed guard and accused me of crimes, my caution seems justified. You cannot seriously expect us to allow this. I expect you to acknowledge that humanity's approach to personal security, while different from yours, comes from legitimate cultural practice rather than hostile intent. We're not your enemy, High Arbiter. We're just very, very careful." Counselor Brecht's gases had turned almost black. "You want us to accept that humans routinely carry arsenals sufficient to wage small wars? I want you to accept that we survived 10,000 years on a planet where everything tried to kill us by being prepared for everything. That's who we are. And we're offering to share that survival expertise with the Council. But we won't do it while defenseless." Marcus locked eyes with Velthin. "So here's my proposal. Earth will limit our diplomatic representatives to 50 weapons when in Council space. We'll establish documentation protocols and transparency measures. In exchange, you acknowledge our cultural practices and stop treating our security procedures as hostile acts." 50 weapons, Velthin repeated. "You consider 50 reasonable?" "It's a significant reduction from current standards," Marcus said. "We're trying to compromise. And if we refuse, then Earth withdraws from Council proceedings. We won't send our people into situations where they cannot protect themselves." The High Arbiter's crystalline form had turned dark blue, the color her species used for difficult decisions. "This session is adjourned. You will remain in custody while we deliberate." As guards moved to escort Marcus away, Counselor Dravik approached cautiously. "Ambassador, be honest. Why does your species arm yourselves so heavily? What are you afraid of?" Marcus met his eyes. "Everything, Counselor. We're afraid of everything. That's why we're still alive." The detention cell was comfortable enough. 6 meters square with walls that displayed whatever environment the prisoner wanted. Marcus had chosen a forest from Earth with sunlight filtering through leaves and birds singing peaceful songs that made him homesick. He sat on furniture that had adjusted itself to human proportions and waited. The guards outside were Krell, massive beings 3 meters tall with 4 arms and natural armor plating. They hadn't spoken since delivering him 3 hours ago. Marcus used the time to conduct mental inventory. Security had eventually collected 64 more weapons after his demonstration, bringing the official total to 191. Items now stored in what they called the diplomatic armory they had missed. 73. He wasn't planning to mention this unless absolutely necessary. The cell's entry panel chimed. Both Krell guards snapped to attention as the barrier dissolved, revealing someone Marcus hadn't expected. Counselor Lyra stepped through. She was delphonic, resembling Earth dolphins if they had evolved to walk upright and develop hands. Her gray skin was smooth, her eyes large and intelligent, and she moved with fluid grace. "Ambassador Webb," she said, her translated voice carrying notes of amusement. "You've caused quite an uproar." Marcus stood and offered a slight bow. "Counselor Lyra, I apologize for disrupting the Council's schedule." "Oh, you've done far more than that." She gestured for them both to sit. "The Council has been in emergency session for 3 hours. Do you know what they're arguing about? Whether to accept my proposal?" "Not exactly." Lyra's expression suggested she was struggling not to laugh. "They're arguing about whether humans are insane, suicidal, or playing an elaborate joke on the rest of the galaxy. We're quite serious. That's what worries them." Lyra leaned forward. "Ambassador, I need you to understand something. The Council has existed for 11,000 years. We've welcomed 217 species into the galactic community. We've seen warriors and pacifists, hive minds and individualists. Species that breathe poison gas and species that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. She paused. And yet we have never encountered anything like humanity. Because we carry too many weapons? Because you carry any weapons at all. Lyra's tone became serious. Let me explain something about galactic civilization. War is expensive. Conflict destroys resources and destabilizes trade. About 8,000 years ago, the major powers realized fighting each other was making everyone miserable. So they created the Council as a forum for resolving disputes through negotiation. It worked so well that species began evolving toward cooperation rather than aggression. Those who couldn't adapt either destroyed themselves or were isolated. The galaxy selected for peace because peace is practical. Marcus absorbed this. You're saying council species have been bred for cooperation? For practicality, Lyra corrected. Peace is the most practical state. Warfare requires resources and populations willing to fight. It's much easier to trade and negotiate and compromise. Most species evolved away from violence over thousands of years, and then humans arrived. Yes, a species engaged in continuous warfare throughout its entire recorded history. A species with active military forces on every continent of its homeworld. A species whose diplomats consider carrying 100 weapons normal and reasonable. Lyra fixed him with her large eyes. You should have destroyed yourselves millennia ago. Instead, you achieve faster-than-light travel while maintaining planetary-scale weapons manufacturing. We must seem like barbarians. You seem like an evolutionary impossibility, Lyra replied. Every other species learned cooperation beats competition. That peace is more profitable than war. That violent individuals are liabilities rather than assets. But you maintained both. You're competent, organized, strategic, and you've avoided self-destruction. If humans can do that, it questions every assumption the Council has made about civilization itself. She stood and paced the cell. You terrify them, Ambassador. Not because you're violent, because you're successful. And that success suggests maybe the galaxy has become complacent. Maybe peace only works when everyone agrees to it. Maybe somewhere out there is a threat we're no longer equipped to handle because we spent 8,000 years optimizing for cooperation instead of survival. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm the deciding vote. Marcus sat forward. I don't understand. The Council is split 36 to 36 on your proposal. One faction wants to accept your compromise and hope contact with peaceful species civilizes humanity gradually. The other wants to reject it, bar humans from council space, and wait 1,000 years to see if you evolve past this phase. And you break the tie. Yes, Velfin abstains on deadlocked issues. Lyra returned to her seat. I've studied humans more than most counselors. Your history, psychology, art, philosophy. Do you know what I learned? What? That you're traumatized. Your entire species suffers collective trauma. You evolved on a death world where everything tried to kill you. Predators, disease, environmental catastrophes, other humans. You never got to feel safe. So you built a civilization assuming danger is constant and preparation is survival. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. That's not entirely wrong. And now you've discovered a galaxy full of species who spent millennia learning to feel safe, to trust systems and protocols and council authority. We're asking you to join us, to put down your weapons and trust that we'll keep you safe? But you can't promise that, Marcus said quietly. Can you? Lyra's silence was answer enough. The Council maintains the galaxy is safe, she finally said. That peacekeeping forces are adequate and no major threats exist. But Ambassador, I've lived 140 of your years. I've seen data the Council doesn't publicize. Ships disappearing in deep space. Colonies going silent. Anomalies at the galactic rim that don't match any known phenomena. Are you saying there's a threat the Council isn't acknowledging? I'm saying the Council has grown comfortable. Comfortable species don't look for threats. They explain them away. She leaned forward. So here's my question. If I vote to accept your proposal, if I allow armed humans into Council space, what do I get in return? What do you want? I want you to be our predators, the words hung between them. Explain, Marcus said. The galaxy spent 8,000 years selecting for cooperation. We created a civilization of diplomats and merchants and scientists. We lost our edge. If something dangerous is out there, something that doesn't respond to negotiation, we're defenseless. Not because we lack technology, but because we forgot how to think like predators. How to prepare for worst cases. How to carry 51 pockets full of tools and call it reasonable. Lyra stood again. If I vote yes, humans join with limited weapons privileges. But I want something additional. I want Earth to establish a security consulting program. Human advisors working with Council peacekeeping forces. Your engineers analyzing our defenses. Your strategists reviewing our protocols. You want us to teach the galaxy to be afraid again. I want you to teach us to survive. There's a difference. Marcus thought about Earth's history of violence and endless conflict. About the countless times humanity prepared for the worst and been proven right. And the countless times they prepared for the worst and been proven paranoid. If we do this, he said slowly, we'll find things, vulnerabilities, weaknesses. We'll probably insist on changes that seem excessive to Council species. I know. And we'll be armed while we do it. Humans don't give tactical assessments while naked and vulnerable. It's not how we work. I know that too. So you're asking us to become the galaxy's security force. To be the ones who carry weapons so everyone else doesn't have to. To be the paranoid ones who check locks and test defenses and assume the worst. Lyra nodded. Yes, exactly that. And what happens when we find something? When we identify a threat the Council doesn't want to acknowledge. Then we'll decide whether we trust you. You, Lyra said simply. Whether your warnings are wisdom or paranoia. Whether you're protecting us or manipulating us. It won't be easy. But the alternative is continuing to pretend the galaxy is safe while doing nothing to verify it. Marcus walked to the wall display and changed the image from forest to space. Stars scattered across infinite darkness. Counselor, I need to be honest. If Earth accepts this role, we'll take it seriously. We won't just check obvious things. We'll look for threats in places you haven't considered. We'll question assumptions the Council held for millennia. We'll be thorough to the point of irritating. I'm counting on it. And we'll never agree to be completely disarmed. That's not who we are. I understand. Marcus turned back. Then you have a deal. But I need something from you. What? Access to the Council's full security data. Not public reports. Real information. Ship disappearances. Unexplained signals. Every anomaly you mentioned. If you want us to protect the galaxy, we need to know what we're protecting it from. Lyra's expression suggested she expected this. That data is classified at the highest level. Only Council members have access. Then you'll need to vote to give us access. That would require another Council session. More debate. More votes. I know. Marcus smiled slightly. Think of it as practice. If you want humans as security consultants, you'll need to get used to us asking for things that make you uncomfortable. Lyra was quiet, then made a sound the translator interpreted as laughter. You're already acting like you've won the vote. No, Counselor. I'm acting like someone about to make the galaxy's security my problem. There's a difference. She moved toward the exit, then paused. Ambassador Webb? One more question, yes? The weapons you still have hidden. The ones our security missed. How many are there really? Marcus considered lying. Considered deflecting. Considered a dozen diplomatic responses. Instead, he told the truth. 73. Lyra's translator glitched before rendering her response. You're carrying 264 weapons total. I did mention I was well prepared. This is madness. This is humanity, Counselor. If you vote yes, you better get used to it. After she left, Marcus sat in silence, staring at stars displayed on his wall. Somewhere out there, beyond Council space, beyond comfortable civilization, something was waiting. He could feel it. That old human instinct honed by millions of years of evolution. The prey animal awareness that kept his ancestors alive when everything wanted to eat them. Danger was coming. And for the first time in 8,000 years, the galaxy was about to remember what it meant to be prepared. Marcus reached into his sock and withdrew a small blade. Security had somehow missed. He tested the edge against his thumb, feeling it bite. 73 hidden weapons. It probably wouldn't be enough, but it was a start. The grand assembly hall felt different when Marcus entered it the second time. The crystalline walls still pulsed with light. The dome still showed the galaxy wheeling overhead, but the atmosphere had changed. Where before there had been certainty, now there was tension thick enough to taste. All 73 council members were present in their elevated platforms. Marcus stood again at the center, though this time without guards flanking him closely. They had positioned themselves at a respectful distance, as if uncertain whether he was prisoner or guest. High Arbiter Velthan's crystalline structure glowed pale amber. Ambassador Webb, the Council has deliberated for 17 hours regarding your proposal and certain additional suggestions brought forward. We are prepared to vote. I'm ready to hear the decision, Marcus replied. Before we proceed, I must note this vote represents one of the most contentious debates in recent Council history. The implications of today's decision will echo for decades, perhaps centuries. Velthan paused. However, we have achieved majority consensus. Councillor Lyra, as deciding vote and architect of the amended proposal, please present the Council's decision. Lyra rose from her platform. In the bright light, her gray skin seemed to shimmer. Ambassador Webb, the Council has voted by a margin of 37 to 36 to accept Earth's participation in the galactic community under modified terms. Marcus felt something release in his chest, though his expression remained neutral. The modified terms are as follows, Lyra continued. Earth's diplomatic representatives will be permitted to carry up to 50 personal defense items when entering Council space, provided these items are properly documented in advance and do not include weapons of mass destruction, biological agents, or reality-altering technologies. This represents a significant exception to standard Council security protocols. Earth accepts these terms, Marcus said formally. There's more, Lyra added. In exchange for this exception, Earth agrees to establish a formal security advisory program. Human consultants will work with Council peacekeeping forces to assess and improve galactic security infrastructure. These consultants will have access to Council security data rated at classification level 7 and below. Level 7? Marcus couldn't hide his surprise. That's 2 levels below the highest classification. That's access that typically requires decades of Council membership. And deeply controversial, Councillor Dravik interjected, his faceplates dull orange. Many of us believe we are making a terrible mistake, that we're inviting wolves into our home and hoping they'll protect the sheep rather than devour them. I understand your concern, Councillor, Marcus said, but I want to be clear. Humans aren't your wolves. We're not predators looking for prey. We're survivors looking for threats. There's a fundamental difference. Is there? Dravik challenged. Your species has been at war with itself throughout your entire history. You've developed weapons capable of rendering your planet uninhabitable. You've committed atrocities against your own kind that would horrify most Council species. And now we're giving you access to our most sensitive security information? Marcus met his gaze steadily. Yes, we've done all those things. And we learned from them. Every weapon we developed came with treaties to control it. Every atrocity led to laws preventing recurrence. Every war taught us better ways to prevent the next one. We're not perfect, Councillor, but we're very good at learning from mistakes. Pretty words, Councillor Brecht hissed, his gases swirling darkly. But those who voted against this proposal include species with the longest memories. We've seen promising newcomers before. We've seen aggressive species claim they seek only peace. It never ends well. Then I suppose we'll have to prove you wrong, Marcus said simply. Velthan raised a crystalline appendage for silence. The decision is made. Ambassador Webb, there are additional conditions you must acknowledge. I'm listening. First, all human consultants working with Council security forces must undergo cultural integration training. You will learn our diplomatic protocols, our conflict resolution methods, our historical precedents. We will not have armed humans operating throughout the galaxy without understanding the civilization they claim to protect. That's reasonable, Marcus agreed. Second, any security recommendations made by human consultants must be reviewed by a joint oversight committee composed of Council members and human representatives. You will not have unilateral authority to make changes to galactic security infrastructure, also reasonable. Third, and most importantly, Velthan's glow intensified. If at any point human forces engage in unprovoked aggression against Council species, or if human consultants are found deliberately undermining galactic security rather than strengthening it, Earth's membership will be immediately suspended and all human presence expelled from Council space. This is non-negotiable. Marcus nodded slowly. High Arbiter, I want to make something absolutely clear. Earth didn't come to the stars looking for conquest. We came looking for survival, for growth, for the chance to be part of something larger than ourselves. Yes, we're armed. Yes, we're paranoid. Yes, we see threats where you see empty space. But that's because our history taught us that unpreparedness kills species. That danger ignored doesn't disappear. That survival requires eternal vigilance. He gestured at the assembled council members. You've created something remarkable here. A civilization where 217 species coexist peacefully, where trade and negotiation replace warfare, where conflicts are resolved with words instead of weapons. It's beautiful. It's the kind of galaxy we want to live in. But beauty doesn't guarantee safety. Peace doesn't prevent catastrophe. And the fact you haven't faced a major threat in 3,000 years doesn't mean such threats don't exist. It might just mean you've been very lucky. The chamber was absolutely silent. So here's what I'm offering, Marcus continued. Let us be your contingency plan. Let us be the ones who prepare for worst-case scenarios so you don't have to. Let us carry the burden of paranoia so your species can continue focusing on cooperation and growth. And maybe, just maybe, we'll all be better off for it. Councillor Brecht's gases had shifted to lighter purple, suggesting uncertainty. And if you find no threats? If your paranoia reveals nothing but empty space and peaceful intentions? Then we'll be the galaxy's most overprepared security consultants, Marcus said with a slight smile. We'll write comprehensive reports about how safe everything is. We'll recommend minor improvements to already excellent systems. And we'll go home knowing we did our job. B, even if that job turned out to be unnecessary. Humans are very good at being wrong about danger. We've had lots of practice. Lyra spoke up. The vote is complete, Ambassador. Earth is officially recognized as a council member species with full privileges and responsibilities. Your security consulting program will begin immediately. I've already assigned a liaison team to coordinate with your government. Thank you, Counselor. Earth won't disappoint you. See that you don't, Velthan said, her tone carrying clear warning. We are placing enormous trust in your species. Ambassador Webb trust earned through 3 years of relatively peaceful first contact, but trust that can be revoked if misused. Understood completely. Then this session is concluded. Ambassador Webb, you are free to depart. Your confiscated weapons will be returned before you leave the station. Marcus bowed slightly. Actually, High Arbiter, about that. Every council member suddenly focused on him with renewed attention, yes? Velthan's tone suggested she already regretted asking. I'm going to need those weapons sent directly to Earth. Your security teams inventoried 264 items. I'd rather not go through the scanning process again while carrying that much equipment. It seems to make everyone nervous. 264, Dravik repeated numbly. The report said 191. Your security teams found 191. I had 73 more they missed. I disclosed this to Counselor Lyra during our conversation yesterday. I assume she mentioned it? Every eye turned to Lyra, who looked somewhat embarrassed. I may have forgotten to include that detail in my briefing to the full council. You forgot, Bresh said flatly, that the human was carrying 73 additional weapons? I was focused on larger strategic implications, Lyra defended. And honestly, at a certain point the specific number stops mattering. Whether he carried 100 or 200 weapons, the core issue remains the same. Humans are thorough about personal security. Thorough, Dravik said. That's one word for it. Marcus cleared his throat. If it helps, I'd be happy to provide a complete, itemized list of everything I was carrying, including items your security missed. It might be useful for improving your scanning protocols. Oh, it would help enormously, Velthan said, her crystalline structure flickering through colors suggesting she couldn't decide whether to be angry or impressed. Please do submit that list. An ambassador? Yes? When you return to Earth, please inform your government that future diplomatic representatives should perhaps moderate their preparations slightly. 50 weapons is the agreed limit. Not 200? I'll pass that along, Marcus promised. Though I should mention I was actually on the conservative end of what my government recommended. Some colleagues suggested I bring closer to 300 items. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, Counselor Lyra made that sound the translator rendered as laughter. The rest of the galaxy has no idea what it's in for, do they? Probably not, Marcus admitted. But at least we'll all find out together. As the session officially ended and council members began filing out, Marcus noticed their expressions had shifted. The hostility was mostly gone, replaced by something more complex. Uncertainty mixed with curiosity. Apprehension blended with cautious hope. They were afraid of humanity, yes. But they were also beginning to understand that maybe having someone to be afraid with was better than facing the unknown alone. Counselor, Dravik approached him as the chamber cleared. His faceplates had settled into neutral gray. Ambassador Webb, I voted against your proposal. I want you to know that. I don't hold it against you, Counselor. You were acting in what you believed were your people's best interests. I still believe humans are dangerous, Dravik continued. That inviting you into our security apparatus is a mistake we may regret for generations. You might be right. But I also cannot deny that your species has survived. Circumstances that would have destroyed mine 10 times over. That you maintain technological progress and social cohesion despite constant warfare. That you have, against all probability, not destroyed yourselves. He extended one of his 4 hands in a gesture Marcus had learned meant respect among the Therox. Marcus clasped it carefully. Prove me wrong, Ambassador. Show us that armed predators can be trusted protectors. Show us that paranoia and preparation can coexist with peace and cooperation. If you succeed, you will have accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. And if we fail, then I will have the bitter satisfaction of being right, Dravik said quietly. Though it will be small comfort when the galaxy is burning. He walked away, leaving Marcus alone in the vast chamber's center. Above him, the dome showed the galaxy in all its glory. Billions of stars, trillions of worlds, an incomprehensible vastness full of wonder and possibility, and somewhere in all that beauty, hiding in spaces between the light, something was waiting. Marcus could feel it, every human instinct. Every evolutionary adaptation that kept his species alive through ice ages and predators and natural disasters was screaming a warning. Danger is coming. The council didn't believe it yet. They'd spent 8,000 years learning to feel safe, to trust in systems and protocols and the fundamental rationality of galactic civilization, but they were starting to listen, starting to wonder, starting to remember that safety was not the same as survival, and humanity would be ready. With 51 pockets full of tools, and the will to use them, they would be ready. 6 months after Marcus Webb's controversial acceptance into the Council, Earth had become an unexpected fixture in galactic security circles. 12 human consultants now worked directly with Council peacekeeping forces, analyzing protocols, stress testing defenses, and generally making everyone nervous with their tendency to ask questions. Like, what happens if this entire station loses power simultaneously, and has anyone actually verified that these shield generators work against weapons we don't typically encounter? Marcus himself had returned to Earth twice, each time to brief his government on the Council's growing acceptance of human methodology. The reports were cautiously optimistic. Yes, Council species found human security practices excessive. Yes, there were cultural clashes and communication difficulties. But slowly, grudgingly, the galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's paranoia might actually have value. Then, the beacon incident happened. Marcus was in his temporary quarters on Council Station when his communication panel lit up with an urgent summons. High Arbiter Velfin? Priority Alpha, report immediately. He arrived at the High Arbiter's private office within 6 minutes, wearing his standard suit with its 51 pockets, 49 of which currently contained items qualifying as weapons under the new accords. The 2 empty pockets bothered him more than he would admit. Velfin was not alone. Counselor Lyra stood beside her, along with Fleet Commander Torvin, a massive being from the Kraltek species who resembled Earth's rhinoceros beetle if it stood upright. Measured 3 meters tall and had mastered interstellar navigation. Also present was someone Marcus didn't recognize, a nervous-looking individual whose species he couldn't immediately identify, covered in what appeared to be soft feathers or fine scales. Ambassador Webb. Velfin's translated voice was tight with tension. Thank you for responding quickly. This is Specialist Kieran, assigned to our Deep Space Monitoring Network. Kieran, please explain to the Ambassador what you discovered. Kieran's feathers rippled in patterns suggesting extreme agitation. 3 days ago, Monitoring Station Beacon 7 detected an anomalous signal from Sector 447. This is Deep Space, Ambassador. No settled worlds within 50 light-years. No known civilizations. No reason for any activity whatsoever. A holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. A blinking red marker indicated the sector's position near the galactic rim. The signal was brief, Kieran continued. Only 42 seconds. But it was clearly artificial. A repeated pattern, mathematically complex, using frequencies requiring significant technological sophistication to generate. Marcus studied the display. What did the signal say? We don't know. It's not in any council language or known communication protocol. Our linguistic algorithms can't even determine if it is language. It might be pure mathematics, or navigation data, or something we don't have context to understand. So, you detected an unexplained signal from empty space, Marcus said slowly. That could mean first contact with a new civilization. That's one possibility, Fleet Commander Torvin rumbled, his voice like rocks grinding together. Except for what happened next. Kieran's feathers shifted to darker colors. Beacon 7 attempted to triangulate the signal source and send a standard first contact greeting. Standard procedure for unknown signals. The greeting was transmitted 4 hours after initial detection. And? Beacon 7 stopped transmitting 11 hours ago. All communication ceased mid-report. The station simply went silent. Marcus felt that old familiar sensation, the one his ancestors must have felt when they heard something large moving in darkness outside their caves. What's the crew complement of Beacon 7? 14 personnel. Mixed species? The station is primarily automated, so it doesn't require large staffing. Have you sent ships to investigate? Velfin's crystalline structure pulsed global. Why? Dark blue light. That's why you're here, Ambassador. We need a human perspective on this situation. Marcus turned to face her fully. You want to know if this is a threat? We want to know if we're being paranoid, Lyra corrected gently. Beacon 7 could have experienced technical failure. The signal could be a natural phenomenon we simply don't understand. The timing might be coincidental. But humans are good at worst-case thinking, Marcus finished. You want to know what the most dangerous interpretation of these events would be? Yes, Velfin admitted. Because if we deploy military assets to investigate what turns out to be mechanical failure, we look foolish and waste resources. But if we ignore what might be a genuine threat, You could lose more than one monitoring station, Marcus said quietly. He moved closer to the holographic display, studying the sector map. Commander Torvin, what's the standard response time to reach Sector 447 from the nearest Council military base? 9 days at maximum safe transit speed. 4 days if we risk higher velocity jumps, but that strains ship engines, and Beacon 7 went silent 11 hours ago? Correct. Marcus did the mental calculation. Whatever happened to that station happened fast. Not a slow system failure. Not gradual loss of communication. Just sudden silence. I need to ask some questions, he said. And I need completely honest answers, even if they're classified. Can you provide that? Velthan exchanged glances with Lyra, then nodded. Proceed. First, how many other unexplained incidents have occurred in that region of space over the past 10 years? Chiron's feathers rippled again. That information is classified Level 6. Counselor Lyra gave Earth access to Level 7 data, Marcus reminded them. Which means I'm authorized. Another pause. Then Kieran pulled up additional data on the display. 17 incidents. Mostly ships that disappeared without distress calls. 2 colonies that went silent and were found abandoned when investigation teams arrived. 1 Council patrol vessel that reported encountering an unidentified vessel before communication was lost. 17 incidents, Marcus repeated, feeling cold despite the station's climate control. And none of this was made public? The Council determined that announcing unexplained disappearances would cause panic without providing useful information. Velthan said, each incident was investigated thoroughly. No common pattern was found. The leading theory was that the galactic rim simply has environmental hazards we don't fully understand. Environmental hazards don't send complex mathematical signals and then silence monitoring stations that try to respond, Marcus said flatly. Which is why we're consulting you, Torvin said. Human military doctrine. Human strategic thinking. If this were happening near Earth, how would your species respond? Marcus thought about Earth's history, about all the times humanity had encountered the unknown and had to decide between caution and courage, between hiding and investigating, between hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. We'd send a reconnaissance team, he said finally, but not our primary military assets. We'd send someone expendable. The Council doesn't consider any species or individuals expendable, Lyra said stiffly. I didn't mean it that way, Marcus clarified. I mean we'd send a small, fast, well-armed team with clear instructions. Observe, gather data, and retreat at first sign of danger. Don't engage. Don't try to be heroes. Just find out what's happening and report back. And you would arm this team heavily, Velthan observed. I would arm them comprehensively, Marcus corrected. Because if something out there is powerful enough to silence a Council monitoring station in minutes, I want my people to have every possible advantage. Torvin's chitinous plates shifted, creating a sound like armor adjusting. The Council doesn't typically authorize heavily armed reconnaissance missions into unexplored space. It sends the wrong message to potential first contact situations. Commander, with respect, you've already sent the message. You transmitted a first contact greeting. If whatever's out there is friendly, they know you're attempting communication. If they're hostile, they know you're watching them. And if they're completely alien and don't think like we do, your messages might not matter at all. Marcus pointed at the blinking marker on the display. Right now you have a choice. You can send a diplomatic vessel, lightly armed, following standard first contact protocols. It'll take 9 days to get there. Or you can send a fast reconnaissance ship, heavily armed, with orders to observe and report. It'll take 4 days. If you send the diplomatic vessel and whatever's out there is hostile, he continued, you lose more people. If you send the reconnaissance ship and whatever's out there is friendly, you can always send diplomats afterward to apologize for being cautious. And if we send nothing? Velthan asked. Then in a few months or years you'll have another unexplained incident. And another. And eventually whatever's happening in Sector 447 won't stay there. It'll spread. It'll get closer. And when it finally reaches inhabited space, you'll wish you'd investigated when you had the chance. The room was silent except for the soft humming of the station's life support systems. Finally, Lyra spoke. Ambassador, if the Council authorizes this reconnaissance mission, would Earth be willing to provide the team? Marcus had been expecting this question. Hoping for it, actually. Yes, but with conditions. Of course there are conditions, Velthan said, her tone suggesting this was exactly what she anticipated. What does Earth require? First, the reconnaissance ship needs to be fast. Faster than anything the Council currently has in that sector. Earth will provide the vessel. You have faster ships than Council military? Torvin sounded skeptical. We have ships designed by paranoid military engineers who assume they might need to run away from superior forces, Marcus said. They're very fast. And yes, before you ask, they're also very well armed? Second condition? Lyra prompted. The team needs to include at least 3 humans. We'll accept Council observers, but mission command needs to be human. Why? Velthan demanded. Because humans are very good at running away, Marcus said bluntly. If things go wrong, if whatever's in Sector 447 turns out to be hostile, I want people in command who spent their entire evolutionary history learning when to fight and when to flee. No offense to present company, but Council species spent millennia learning to negotiate. We spent millennia learning to survive. Torvin's plates shifted again. You're suggesting Council species are less capable of making tactical decisions under pressure. I'm suggesting we're specialists in different kinds of pressure, Marcus replied diplomatically. You're excellent at resolving complex diplomatic situations. We're excellent at not dying when everything goes wrong. This mission is more likely to involve the second skill set than the first. Third condition? Velthan asked. Full authority to abort the mission if my team determines it's too dangerous. No requirement to investigate further if risk exceeds acceptable parameters. We observe, we report, we leave. That's the mission. Not observe and possibly engage or observe and attempt communication. Just observe and report. Lyra nodded slowly. That seems reasonable. Very well, Velthan said. Earth is authorized to conduct the reconnaissance mission. 3 humans with the option to include up to 3 Council observers. Full authority to abort if the situation exceeds acceptable risk parameters. Report findings directly to this office. Mission launch is authorized immediately. Thank you, High Arbiter, Marcus said. I'll assemble my team within 2 hours. Ambassador, Velthan stopped him as he turned to leave. I'm trusting you with this. Not just because we need your expertise, but because you've been honest about your intentions. Don't make me regret this decision. I won't, Marcus promised. And High Arbiter? I genuinely hope we're wrong. I hope we fly to Sector 447, find a malfunctioning station, and spend the flight home laughing about human paranoia. That would be the best possible outcome. But you don't believe that's what we'll find, Lyra said quietly. Marcus met her eyes. No, I don't. Because 17 incidents over 10 years, all in the same region of space, all unexplained, doesn't happen by coincidence. Something's out there. Something intelligent. Something that doesn't want to be found, but isn't quite careful enough to leave no traces. And something, he added softly, that just announced its presence by sending a signal directly to a Council monitoring station. That's not coincidence. That's escalation. The persistence cut through space at velocities that made even experienced Council observers uncomfortable. The reconnaissance frigate's human-designed engines pushed against theoretical limits of safe, faster-than-light travel, eating up the distance to Sector 447 with ruthless efficiency. Inside the compact ship, Marcus sat in the command chair, reviewing sensor data and trying not to think about how much could go wrong. His team consisted of 5 people total. Himself, plus 2 other humans, Lieutenant Commander Patricia Torres, a career military officer with 20 years' experience in hostile environment operations, and Dr. James Park, a xenolinguist who specialized in first contact scenarios. The Council had insisted on 2 observers, Specialist Kiran, who had discovered the original anomaly, and a Kraltech military analyst named Vorik who reported directly to Fleet Commander Torvin. They had been traveling for 3.5 days. Sector 447 was now only 6 hours away. Commander Torres, Marcus said quietly. Status report. Torres looked up from her tactical display. She was a compact woman with silver hair tied back severely and a face suggesting she had seen too much combat to ever be surprised by anything. All weapon systems operational. Defensive shields at maximum. Electronic warfare suite running continuous sweeps. No contacts. No signals. No activity of any kind. Which is exactly what we'd expect if something intelligent is trying to hide, Dr. Park observed. He was younger than the others, maybe 30, with the kind of nervous energy suggesting he would rather be analyzing data than sitting in a ship approaching potential danger. A civilization advanced enough to silence a monitoring station would certainly be advanced enough to avoid detection by a single frigate, unless they want us to find them. Marcus said. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Vorik rumbled. The Kraltech was even larger than Fleet Commander Torvin, and his presence in the compact ship made every space feel crowded. The original signal was sent directly to a council monitoring station, Marcus said. Not random broadcasts. Not scattered transmissions. One specific targeted signal to one specific installation. That's not exploration. That's not accident. That's deliberate communication. You're suggesting they're expecting us, Torres said. I'm suggesting they're inviting us. The question is, why? Chiron's feathers rippled with anxiety. This is why humans are terrifying. You've been suspicious since the moment we explained the situation. The rest of us wanted to believe this was a misunderstanding or technical failure. You immediately assumed hostile intelligence. Because assuming hostile intelligence and being wrong is embarrassing, Marcus replied. Assuming friendly intentions and being wrong is fatal. Humans prefer embarrassment to extinction. We're approaching sensor range of Beacon 7's last known position, Torres announced. Passive scans only as ordered. No active pinging. The main display updated, showing vast emptiness of deep space. Somewhere in that darkness, a 14-person monitoring station waited, or what was left of it. There, Dr. Park pointed at a cluster of objects appearing on the edge of sensor range. Debris field. Multiple pieces scattered across approximately 2 cubic kilometers. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Beacon 7? Analyzing the spectral signature, yes, definitely council construction materials. Hull plating. Interior components. Life support equipment. Any life signs? Vorik asked, his voice carefully neutral. Torres checked her displays, then shook her head. Nothing. The station's been completely destroyed. Based on the debris dispersal pattern, I'd estimate this happened approximately 7 to 9 hours ago. After we launched, Marcus calculated. Whatever destroyed the station waited until they knew we were coming. Or the timing is coincidental, Kiran suggested hopefully. I don't believe in coincidence, Torres said flatly. Not in combat zones. And this just became a combat zone. Marcus stood, moving to look at the debris field more closely. Somewhere in those scattered fragments were 14 bodies. 14 people who had been doing their jobs, monitoring deep space, when something found them. Tactical assessment, Commander Torres. Could the destruction have been accidental? Catastrophic system failure? Internal explosion? Torres studied the patterns carefully. No, sir. Look at the debris dispersal. It's too uniform. Too complete. This station was hit by multiple simultaneous impacts from external sources. Something attacked it, hit it from at least 6 different angles at the same time, and destroyed it in seconds. Whatever weapons did this, they're well beyond standard council military technology. Dr. Park, Marcus said quietly, if you were a hostile intelligence trying to send a message to an unknown species, what would you do? The xenolinguist thought about it. I'd destroy something they valued, but not in a way that killed many people. I'd demonstrate my capability without committing to full aggression. I'd create fear without creating immediate demand for retaliation. A 14-person monitoring station, Marcus said. Remote, isolated, enough casualties to prove you're serious? But not so many that it demands immediate military response. You're describing a warning, Vorik said slowly. I'm describing the opening move in a very careful dance. Something out here is intelligent enough to understand galactic politics. They know that destroying a major colony or attacking a populated world would trigger full military response. So instead, they destroy something small. They test the Council's resolve. They wait to see how we respond. Then we should leave, Kieran said, his feathers pale with fear. We should report this and let the Council's military forces handle it. And if military forces arrive and face an enemy they don't understand using weapons they've never encountered? Marcus asked gently. The Council hasn't fought a real war in 3,000 years. They've forgotten how. And humans haven't? Vorik challenged. Humans never stopped, Torres said grimly. We just got better at avoiding wars we couldn't win. The ship's alert system suddenly activated. A soft chime, barely audible, but enough to make everyone's attention snap to the displays. Contact, Torres said sharply. Single vessel bearing 347 Mark 18. Distance approximately 800,000 kilometers. It just appeared on our sensors. Just appeared? Marcus moved back to his command chair. No transition signature? No emergence pattern? Nothing. 1 second, the sensors showed empty space. The next second, a ship. Whatever technology they're using, it's not standard faster-than-light travel. On the display, a new marker appeared. The contact was moving slowly toward their position. Size estimate? Marcus asked. Large, approximately 4 times the mass of Persistence. Configuration unknown. Power readings off the scale. They're either running the most inefficient reactor design in the galaxy or they're generating energy levels that would power a small city. Weapons status? Unknown. The whole design is unlike anything in Council databases. Could be civilian. Could be military. No way to tell without active scanning, which would definitely reveal our position. They know where we are already, Dr. Park said quietly. They destroyed Beacon 7. They're here now. They're not hiding anymore. Marcus considered their options. They could run. Persistence was fast, and they could probably open the range before the unknown vessel got close. They could stay and observe, gathering data while remaining at safe distance. Or they could attempt communication, following standard first contact protocols despite the ominous circumstances. Commander Torres, maintain current position. Passive sensors only. Dr. Park, prepare a first contact message. Standard format, all major Council languages plus mathematical notation. Kieran, Vorik, transmit this situation to Council Station via secure burst transmission. Let them know what we found. And if that ship attacks? Torres asked. Then you get us out of here at maximum velocity and don't stop until we're back in Council space, Marcus said. But I don't think they're going to attack. Not yet. Why not? Vorik asked. Because they could have destroyed us already if that was their intention. We flew right through the debris field of Beacon 7. They knew we were here the moment we arrived. They've had multiple opportunities to fire on us. Instead, they've revealed themselves. They're making themselves visible. That's not attack behavior. That's communication, or it's a trap, Torres muttered. Could be both, Marcus admitted. Dr. Park, is that message ready? Yes, sir. Standard first contact package. Mathematical constants, chemical diagrams, images representing Council species. The kind of thing any sophisticated civilization should be able to interpret. Transmit it. Narrow beam, directed at that vessel. Let's see if they respond. The message went out at light speed, crossing the distance in less than 3 seconds. Then they waited. 30 seconds passed. Then a minute. Then 5. No response, Dr. Park said. They're receiving our transmission. Sensors indicate their ship is oriented toward us. But they're not acknowledging. Maybe they need time to decode it, Kieran suggested. Or maybe they already know everything the message contains, Marcus replied. If they've been monitoring the Council for years, studying us, they'd already know our languages and mathematical systems. They wouldn't need time to decode anything. Then why aren't they responding? Vorik demanded. Because, Marcus said slowly, working it through as he spoke, they're not here to talk to us. They're here to evaluate us. They destroyed Beacon 7 to get our attention. They revealed their ship to show us their capabilities. Now they're waiting to see what we do next. Whether we run or stay, whether we act with courage or fear, Torres frowned. That's remarkably arrogant for a species that hasn't even introduced themselves. Or remarkably practical for a species trying to determine if the Council is worth engaging with, Dr. Park countered. First contact isn't just about communication. It's about evaluation. They're testing us. Then let's give them something to evaluate, Marcus decided. He activated the ship's external communication system, broadcasting openly rather than in narrow beam. This is Ambassador Marcus Webb of Earth, representing the Galactic Council. We've received your signal. We found the destroyed monitoring station. We understand you're technologically advanced and capable of significant destruction. We're here to determine if communication is possible. He paused, then added, We're also heavily armed and prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. But we'd prefer peaceful contact. The choice is yours? Silence, then suddenly a response. Not in Council languages. Not in mathematical notation. In English. A human language. Ambassador Webb, your translation is interesting. Heavily armed. By Council standards, perhaps. By our calculations, your vessel carries approximately 47 weapon systems of varying lethality. Impressive for a reconnaissance ship. Inadequate for serious military engagement. Everyone on the bridge stared at the display where the message appeared in perfect English text. They speak English, Dr. Park whispered. They've been studying us specifically. Marcus felt ice crawl down his spine. And they've analyzed our weapon systems without us detecting any scans. The message continued. We have observed the Galactic Council for 143 of your years. We have studied your species, your technologies, your military capabilities. We have concluded that the galaxy has grown complacent, weak, unprepared for what lies beyond the rim. Except for humanity, you alone remember how to survive. You alone prepare for danger. You alone carry weapons into the dark. That is why we contacted you. That is why we destroyed the monitoring station. To see if the Council would send diplomats or soldiers. They sent you. Humans who are both. Marcus exchanged glances with Torres, who had her hand hovering over the weapons controls. Who are you? Marcus asks simply. We are what remains of a civilization that learned too late the value of preparation. We are what the galaxy will become if it continues to forget how to defend itself. We are your future unless you change the Council's course. The unknown ship began moving again, accelerating away from them at impossible speeds. We will not contact you again for 10 of your years. In that time, either the Council will have learned the lessons we tried to teach, or it will have fallen to the dangers it refuses to acknowledge. The choice is yours, Ambassador Webb. Teach them to survive, or watch them die. The ship vanished, leaving no trace on their sensors. Torres slowly removed her hand from the weapons controls. What just happened? Marcus stared at the empty space where the ship had been. I think we just met the only thing more paranoid than humanity. And they're warning us that they might be right to be afraid. He activated the secure channel to Council Station. Hi, Arbiter Velthan. This is Ambassador Webb. We've completed our reconnaissance of Sector 447. You need to hear this. All of it as he prepared to deliver his report. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and felt the familiar weight of the concealed weapons he still carried. 51 pockets full of tools and the will to use them. For the first time since arriving in Council space, he wondered if it would be enough. Whatever was waiting beyond the galactic rim, whatever had destroyed that civilization and was now warning humanity about the Council's complacency, it was patient. It was watching. And it was waiting to see if the galaxy would learn to defend itself, or if humanity would have to do it alone. Either way, Marcus thought grimly, Earth would be ready. Because that's what humans did. They survived. They prepared. They carried weapons into the dark, and they never, ever stopped being afraid of what might be waiting in the shadows. That fear, more than anything else, was what kept them alive. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.